But as a white person, there is privilege. And it just makes me sad that she reacted the way that she did, because Caitlin Clark is so talented.
The undisputed face of women's basketball and a WNBA trailblazer, Caitlin Clark, is once again at the center of a heated controversy because of her incredible skill and capacity to attract millions of new fans to the game.
Caitlin Clark, what she's doing doesn't minimize what they've done, but we should have been giving her the credit. We saw the ratings, we saw the merchandise sales, we saw the attendance, but y'all want to make it about something else. Oh, what about the women that laid the foundation? What about this? What about it? That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is box office. She's doing this.
Women should just shut up and dribble in the WNBA. The more they talk, the dumber they are. We get dumber when they speak. We get dumber when they're media.
There were reasons why Clark made headlines. What appeared to be a moment of humility and respect for WNBA legends like Lisa Leslie and Maya Moore has instead devolved into a contentious discussion about race after she acknowledged her privilege as a white person in a league traditionally dominated by black athletes in a recent interview. Merit and recognition in sports. Her remarks have caused a media frenzy, with responses flooding in from players, fans, and critics like A.A. Wilson and Angel Reese, who were both outspoken in their criticism of Clark in the past and didn't hold back in accusing her of virtue signaling and diverting attention away from her own accomplishments.
And she feels the need in this interview to say, appreciate it, but I'm white. And with that, there comes enormous privilege. And, I really think it's important that you pay attention to the black women who are in this league, who built this league. And I really feel it's my role to make sure that people do that.
While some contend that her statements demonstrate self-awareness and respect for the history of black athletes in the league, the real question now isn't whether Caitlin Clark was correct or incorrect, but rather what her statements imply in a larger cultural context.
I don't think people felt that way. This white girl came on the scene where there was a bunch of sisters that preceded her, spanning decades, that were big time, that deserved a lot of credit. But whiteness does have its privilege, especially when you got a game. And what a lot of people weren't willing or were a bit reluctant to appreciate was the game.
The game. But this goes beyond a single interview. It's a representation of the WNBA's broader issues, which range from the league's financial difficulties to media portrayals of Clark as the Great White Hope. The relationship between race and sports is being scrutinized more than ever before. Why are Caitlin Clark's critics, such as Reese and Wilson, quick to disparage her accomplishments while the league still depends on her star power to survive?
Caitlin is the face right now, and that's also good. Like, she's selling out gyms, of course. Like, why would you hate against that?
We saw dirty play after dirty play on Caitlin Clark, and still, she just handled every single situation with the highest levels of dignity.
Was Caitlin Clark out of line? Or is this just another instance of needless backlash against a young athlete attempting to navigate a complex and unforgiving world? Let's examine this controversy to learn the truth. This is not just a sports story. It's a cultural moment that deals with the societal struggles surrounding privileged race and the narratives that shape public opinion.
So she spoke out against that. She got people paid. She got better travel arrangements. She increased the ratings and the revenue, which obviously the WNBA benefited exponentially because now you got a $200 million deal. All of these things being considered, you damn right. It is appropriate that she got Athlete of the Year. She is special.
In her interview, Caitlin Clark acknowledged the accomplishments of black athletes who cleared the path for players like her, including legends like Lisa Leslie and Maya Moore. Her remarks on privilege and race have sparked a discussion that goes beyond basketball. Clark noted that, as a white WNBA athlete, her race may give her prominence and chances that others have had to work harder to obtain. She even stated that, as a white person, she is privileged. Nevertheless, her remarks, which were intended to be respectful, ended up being used as a flashpoint for criticism. Aya Wilson and Angel Reese, two of Clark's longtime detractors, both on the court swiftly dismissed her remarks as being untrue. Reese accused Clark of diverting attention away from her accomplishments in order to prevent criticism, characterizing her comments as virtue signaling. Wilson concurred, claiming that Clark's ascent is just another illustration of the Great White Hope phenomenon, implying that her race, rather than her talent, is what made her famous according to their criticisms. Clark's remarks were more about escalating public demands that fueled an already fierce rivalry than they were about acknowledgement.
I think Caitlin Clark is doing the right thing, rising above all of the crap that she's had to endure. The amount of fouls committed on Caitlin Clark higher than any other player, flagrant fouls committed on Caitlin Clark higher than any other player. Caitlin Clark was worried about playing the game, and that is why she got Rookie of the Year. She was not worried about
of Clark, but some interpret her statements differently, contending that by recognizing the structural obstacles Black players in the league experience, she exhibits a unique level of self-awareness for a professional at the height of her abilities. Clark showed respect for the foundation and history of women's basketball fans. It should be noted, however, that Clark's recognition does not diminish her amazing accomplishments, which include breaking numerous records and attracting millions of new viewers to the WNBA on her own.
Caitlin Clark has done is grown the WNBA exponentially. She did in 5 weeks what would have taken 5 years. And as it pertains to draft viewership, she did in 5 days what would have taken 5 years.
The issue of authenticity has been at the center of this discussion for years. Was Caitlin Clark's admission of privilege an intentional attempt to preserve her reputation, or was it a genuine attempt to respect those who came before her? Supporters contend that Clark's readiness to address such a divisive subject demonstrates her maturity and leadership, setting her apart in a league in dire need of positive role models, while critics like Reese and Wilson contend that the latter's remarks diminish her merit and obscure the contributions of other players.
There is a lot of appropriate attention on Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, and we found out that the Fever Storm game from over the weekend drew 2.2 million viewers, which is massive. The WNBA has 18 games this season where they've had more than 1 million viewers average, and 16 of those 18 have featured Caitlin Clark. So you cannot deny the connectivity of Caitlin Clark playing basketball and people wanting to watch. If she's playing, they will come, they will watch the game.
It is impossible to ignore how the media shaped Caitlin Clark's tale, from her ascent as a college basketball player to her position as the WNBA spokesperson. Clark's story has focused as much on her talent as it has on the perspective that presents it. This dynamic has only been heightened by the controversy surrounding her remarks about privilege and racism, with some outlets portraying her as a trailblazer for having awkward conversations. While some dismiss her as a representation of white privilege, this duality highlights the larger difficulties the WNBA has in identifying its stars and its narrative. Critics like As Angel Rhee and AIA Wilson have capitalized on this narrative by arguing that the media's attention to Clark is due. They contend that due to innate racial bias, Black players in the league have often produced high-caliber performances, but infrequently get the same kind of recognition or opportunity for endorsements. Wilson's scathing comment regarding the Great White Hope emphasizes the belief that Clark's ascent is exaggerated in comparison to her Black peers, sustaining the notion that white athletes enjoy an implicit edge in support and visibility.
Caitlin Clark is box office. She is a star.
Watch her play. She plays at a high level, highly skilled. She's the best passer in America, and she's the best shooter in America.
America concurrently. The WNBA, which has been financially troubled for years, saw a spike in viewership and engagement during Caitlin Clark's breakout season. Her ability to captivate audiences, many of whom had never watched women's basketball before, cannot be overstated, and even her detractors acknowledge the undeniable impact she has had on growing the league's audience. Despite this, the WNBA's financial problems persist, with the league reportedly losing $40 million annually even after Clark's contributions. While Clark's celebrity has garnered unprecedented attention, it has also increased scrutiny. The media's attention on her every move, including her comments about privilege and race, has put her under a microscope, leading to accusations that the league is using Clark to cover up more serious problems like its lack of financial stability and the systemic injustices that players of color face. For some, this feels like an unfair burden for any one player to bear, regardless of how talented or influential they may be.
Caitlin Clark is becoming the best player in the entire WNBA, not because she's white, because she's that good. She's having Larry Bird impact.
The WNBA tried to capitalize on her popularity and crammed a lot of games in over a short amount of time, playing against the best teams in the WNBA.
The media's uneven coverage of the league's difficulties while Clark-related issues take center stage is especially noticeable. Less focus is placed on the structural problems that have beset the WNBA for many years, ranging from salary and resource differences with the NBA to the league's over-subsidy dependence. These issues are rarely addressed with the same zeal as Clark's individual acts, which leads to a narrative that leaves the league's future firmly in her hands, even as other participants and stakeholders call for a more thorough approach to addressing the WNBA's issues. It is important to recognize that the media's portrayal of Caitlin Clark reflects society's biases just as much as it does her undeniable influence. Her detractors, such as Reese and Wilson, see her as a symbol of a system that puts marketability ahead of fans who value merit, but they also see her as a vital figure for a league that is in dire need of celebrities who can bring attention to the game. The truth lies somewhere in between a complex combination of talent timing and the media's role in sustaining or dismantling stereotypes as the WNBA continues to navigate these tensions. Attention to Caitlin Clark continues to be advantageous and difficult for the league's future. Social media erupted in debates, turning Caitlin Clark's statement into a flash show for discussions about race privilege and recognition in sports. The polarization of opinion speaks to the larger cultural moment we're living in, where every word from a public figure can have a significant impact. While some people applauded her for her candor and acknowledgement of privilege, others saw it as a betrayal of her accomplishments, diminishing the very merit that propelled her to the top spot with Clark in the past have used. This caused a flurry of criticism. Supporters of Clark contend that by giving credit to Black women's basketball pioneers Lisa Leslie and Maya Moore, she demonstrated humility in acknowledging her advantages. She showed knowledge of the league's background and the difficulties its players have encountered. For many fans, this was a welcome diversion from the egotistical stories that are frequently told in professional sports. Although not everyone agrees, Clark's readiness to engage in these discussions shows her leadership and maturity as the WNBA spokesperson, heralding a new era of knowledge in the league. AIA Wilson and Angel Reese have both made public time to reiterate their critiques of them. Clark's remarks were an attempt to silence critics and protect herself from criticism rather than a gesture of humility. Wilson added gasoline to the fire by saying that no amount of recognition could erase the systemic inequalities Black players continue to face both within the WNBA and beyond. Reese in particular has argued that Clark's remarks overshadow the hard work and struggles of Black players who have been carrying the league long before Clark's arrival. Cultural comments have also weighed in, turning this into a wider discussion about how society values several ways to achieve success. Some contend that Clark's acknowledgement is representative of a broader problem in which, despite environments created on the hard work and skill of Black people, whiteness is still overwhelmingly celebrated. Others respond by pointing out that Clark's talent and diligence have gained her fame, shattering records and bringing women's basketball to a whole new level of attention. The way that this dispute represents a cultural divide on privilege and acknowledgement is among its most contentious features. Clark's remarks are criticized for perpetuating Black players' achievements are undermined by a victim narrative that implies they can only succeed if their white allies acknowledge them. Athletes who have succeeded on their own merit, however, view Clark's remarks as a pivotal moment in creating a more inclusive conversation about the challenges minority athletes and professional sports face. This cultural divide is further exacerbated by the social. The function of the media in promoting all viewpoints, from casual fans to professional athletes with hashtags and memes supporting or disparaging Clark, social media sites like Instagram and Twitter have turned into battlegrounds. This has not only sustained the controversy, but also demonstrated the influence of the public and how a player's legacy is shaped by their perception. Every statement becomes a defining moment in this age of quick reactions, and Clark's remarks are no exception. In the end, this controversy reflects the times we live in, when conversations about privilege and race are not limited to politics or activism, but rather permeate all spheres of society, including sports. Regardless of their original meaning, Caitlin Clark's remarks have come to represent the continuous fight to bridge the gap between systemic inequality and merit recognition. It is unclear if this will be a turning point for deeper understanding, or if Clark's remarks will simply reinforce already existing divides. started a dialogue that goes much beyond the basketball floor. Beyond basketball, Caitlin Clark's journey has always been about more. Her talent, drive, and record-breaking skills have made her a standout in women's sports, but it's her ability to start conversations, intentionally or not, that has put her at the forefront of larger societal discussions. The true question is not whether Caitlin Clark was correct or incorrect, but rather what her remarks about privilege and race reveal about the sports industry and the surrounding society to her fans. Her remarks have sparked a flurry of responses that have drawn clear boundaries between her supporters and detractors. For the WNBA, Clark continues to be a ray of hope in addition to being a player who can dominate on the court. She has the ability to attract new fans to a league that has long struggled to attract widespread recognition. Her readiness to face uncomfortable realities is viewed by these supporters as a sign of leadership, a quality that many feel is crucial for the league's survival. Women's basketball needs an athlete like Clark who can attract attention, start discussions, and motivate the next generation of players. However, her critics, who are represented by voices like Angel Reese and Wilson, interpret this as a part of a broader narrative that downplays the contributions of Black athletes. They contend that Clark's seemingly well-intentioned admission of privilege diverts attention from the structural problems that still beset the WNBA to them. Clark's ascent serves as a clear reminder of the media's ongoing need to address the inequalities in support and recognition within professional sports. 2-0 is crucial to this story, highlighting each and every tweet and statement and each response. Although this keeps Clark at the forefront of conversations, it also increases the pressure she is under as the league's most well-known player. Every comment she makes is examined, and every action she takes is analyzed. Although this level of attention is good for the WNBA's visibility, it runs the risk of overshadowing other players' contributions and the teamwork required to solve the league's problems. Where does this leave us, then? In addition to being an athlete, Caitlin Clark is a cultural figure negotiating the nuances of racial privilege and public opinion. Her remarks have started a conversation that touches on topics that are widely felt and extends beyond basketball. It remains to be seen if this will define her career or if it will just be one part of a much bigger story. Unquestionably, though, Caitlin Clark's talent is unparalleled, and she has come to represent both controversy and advancement in women's sports. Whether you agree or disagree, her influence is undeniable, and she has the opportunity to raise awareness of the game. However, that power also comes with responsibility, specifically the need to represent herself, her team, and the league in a way that advances the debate. With or without her, one thing is certain. If you're ready to dive into the most recent and greatest moments in women's basketball, Caitlin Clark has started a conversation that won't be forgotten anytime soon. Whether she chooses to take center stage or let her game speak for herself, her influence is already felt far beyond the court. In the end, it's not just about what Caitlin Clark said. It's about the conversations she forced us all to have, and for that, whether you love her or hate her, she's unquestionably changed the game. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more from WNBA Original. We cover everything from breaking news to motivational stories, putting you closer to the action and the players who make it all happen. Don't forget to hit subscribe and enable notifications so you're always the first to know what's happening on and off the court. Unquestionably, Clark is the face of women's